Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Hello, good afternoon. Ooh, my hat's on wrong. Making my eyes all dark the way that Jared does sometimes. Guerilla Sports Off Ice, Jesse Montano, Meghan Angley. You got Chloe back there running the board. We were trying to convince her to come on the show, but she doesn't want to hang out with us, apparently, Megan. Meg Daddy, how's it going? Friday afternoon, day after Halloween. Too much candy last night?
Not enough
Not
candy.
enough candy.
I got to like 7 p.m. Like, should I go to the store and get candy? I'll wait for the sales to hit and then I'll get some.
I think it's like 50% off starting today, and then every day that it survives past that, they knock another 10% off.
That's the key.
That's the key. Interesting week for the Avs. More bodies coming out of the lineup, this time not for injury. We'll get into that. We went to practice yesterday, Megan. You and I talked to Capo Kakinen after his first start with the Avs. There's a couple different things that I'm going to want to get into, stuff that we were talking about yesterday at practice, stuff you were asking some of the guys at practice. So I want to get into all of that. How was your Halloween, just in general? Not enough candy, but otherwise?
No, it was good. I had some leftover cookies that have the Halloween sprinkles, and I
Ooh,
watched
yeah.
Sabrina, the movie,
Yep.
like kind of before the show came about.
Mhm.
So I tried to make it not too spooky,
Yep.
but a little festive.
A little
How about
festive.
for you?
It was good. You know, it was interesting. We years ago, before I moved into my neighborhood, I had a friend whose parents lived in my same neighborhood, and we went there for Halloween. I was older. It was there's a lot of kids, a lot of people participating. So when my wife and I moved into this neighborhood, I was like, oh, I know this is a big Halloween neighborhood. What we've discovered, it's kind of a big neighborhood. There's a lot of different, and it's in pockets. So you really got to find the pockets for where people are super into Halloween. So we walked around a little bit, and then we actually went over to my parents' house, or all my nieces. I have 4 nieces. They were all there. My parents' neighborhood. It was always pretty bustling for Halloween when I was a kid, but it's like 5 times as much now. Everyone's like out in their driveways and their garages and all that stuff. So we went and did that. Walked around with my nieces are like the oldest one's 7. So they're all in like a very pro Halloween age.
Yes.
So we did that. It was good. It was
That's
fun.
awesome.
Yeah.
What was the turnout in the neighborhood for trick-or-treaters?
So my mom, my sweet, sweet mother, keeps tallies of the kids. They had over 100 kids.
I'm so glad to hear it because I've heard mixed reviews.
I've
from
actually
people
heard only bad.
that people are like, where did the trick-or-treaters go? They're all doing the trunk or treat now. And I'm sad because I looked forward to being an adult and handing out candy one day when I live in a home and not an apartment.
Yeah. So our neighborhood, it's split. There's single family homes and townhomes. We're in the townhomes. Second year in a row, 0 trick-or-treaters at all. Well, I guess I can say that because we have a Ring doorbell and I got 0 notifications last night.
Yeah.
But I actually was even excited when we first moved in there because I was like, well, I know this neighborhood gets into it. And like townhomes, that seems like it'd be
Still
easy.
Yeah.
Like much easier trick-or-treating. So I was like, dang, I'll bet you this is even busier than the regular house is. Not the case. But we found the holiday spookiness elsewhere. We just had to drive to it.
We just had to drive.
Things continue to get spooky for this Avs lineup, though, Megan.
Boy.
I guess where do we want to start? We'll get into Steinberg. Let's go back a little bit here. We haven't talked on the show since Capo Kakinen's debut. Went a little bit sideways out of the gates, but as did that entire game against Tampa Bay Lightning. So I guess let's just start a little bit on. I'd love your thoughts on that game against Tampa, and then we'll gear this towards the Capo Kakinen conversation. It was a rough start for the Avs. It felt like they bounced back okay in that game against Tampa.
Yeah, I liked Kakinen. I know that feels weird to say, especially given how the first period unfolded. It was scary. I had a lot of fear that it was just going to be a wash of a game and completely ugly. some might still feel that way about the Tampa game, but I felt after the first period, he settled so much more and seemed to be plugged in and much more aware. You know, I look at the Gensel goal after that, just such a weird bounce off the post to a totally different direction. I'm not pinning that on him being still unsettled in that game. I want to see more from him.
I felt bad for him on that one. You could see, like, because he made a really nice save right before that, and on that one in particular, off the post, I felt bad for him. You could see it in his body language.
Absolutely. What I liked though was the bounce back after, you know, that first period that could have been game over, especially because of the pressure of coming in his debut. But I felt like he just started to see the puck better as the game went on, and I made note in my notes of big saves that he came up with, even in that first period when things were kind of hairy. He obviously wasn't playing as well as I think he would have liked to, so I'm not sure where to, you know, put Kakkonen in the conversation just yet. I feel like I just need to see a whole lot more.
Well, so here's what's tough about that first period for Capo Kakkonen. I really felt Meghan. If you're looking at it objectively, and if you're looking at it through the lens of, if you're looking at it in a vacuum, none of those that I put on him. Those first three goals on the first 5 shots, none of them that I put on him. Bad breakdowns defensively, sure, especially on that first one, but also just outstanding offensive efforts from the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Nikita Kucherov in the slot. That's hard.
Uncontested one-timer from the slot from a Hall of Fame player, led the league in points last year. I mean, is among the game's elite. The elite of the elite. Nikita Kucherov is in that conversation, and you leave him all alone, 15 feet from the front of the net to step into a one-timer. What do you want him to do? An all-world play from Kucherov to set up Gensel on the second goal.
First of Gensel's goals.
Yes, and then the third one's at, you know, a 3-on-1 that, yeah, you know, I talked to Sam Malinsky yesterday. You can go listen to it on Guerilla Sports. He said that he kind of got caught halfway between making decisions. He said that the puck was sitting in an area where it was halfway between where he would step up versus where he would fall back. So he kind of made a half decision, and then he lost an edge, and that, you know, so he falls. Sam Girard, I didn't love the way that Sam Girard played the 3-on-1, but beautiful passing play from the Lightning. All of that to be said. Oliver Kylington, you know, we got a comment in here. Oliver Kylington makes a really bad read on the first goal. And it's just, you know, breakdowns all over the place. So hard for me to pin any of those on him. Flip side, we're holding Alexander Georgiev to a pretty high standard right now of, you got to find a way to come up with a save. At least, you know, from my lens, that the goaltending is at a point with this team where you're kind of losing a lot of that benefit of the doubt right now because you need to find a save. So I think it's fair that if you want to look at those first 3 goals and find 1 or 2 of them where you can say, hey, Kakkonen's got to find a way to battle through that and make a save, I'm fine with that. That's just the nature of where the Avs are at right now. In net is Andrei Vasilevsky made a number of saves he probably shouldn't have made late in that game. So while I'm with you, I think I liked Capo's game overall. I thought he settled in nice. If there are people out there that want to say, hey, we want to see him come up with a save there early, I'm not going to tell folks that they're wrong.
I think, and I don't want to make it a stark parallel, you know, Georgiev, Kakkonen. But what I saw in Kakkonen that was encouraging is, one, it's his debut. So he hasn't played really a lot of hockey in a while, right? He missed a month of hockey, gets in some American League games, and they're close games. He keeps it within a goal. He comes in, he allows 2 goals early, but he's still seeing the puck. Like, there was a Chernak wrister in close that he just gloved with ease. That's the kind of save that I don't necessarily have recollection of Georgiev making after letting in 2 after some of the first shots of the game. Then the Geeky goal comes after it. And then even in the second, just before the Gensel goal, he denies a partial breakaway. It's like those saves I'm trying to take mental note of, because I don't know that I can recall Georgiev in the midst of a 3+ goal game making those saves among that type of chaos. That's where I think I want to see more of Kakkonen. Obviously, I don't want it to be multi-goal games like that, but I liked what I saw in him in response to giving up so many goals early. I still need to see a lot more, but I think that's where I'm granting him some allowances and why I'm granting him some allowances.
No, you're 100% right. Like he hadn't played an NHL game in months. He backed up for a couple, but he hadn't played in a regular season NHL game in a while. And so again, like I'm for me personally, I'm not hanging any of those. I didn't really have an issue with Kakkonen in that game. I actually felt bad for him to start there because there were so many bad breakdowns that he really was not put in a position to succeed. The only one that my slight criticism is track that puck a little bit better on the second goal. He really got sucked into Kucherov going behind the net. I'd like for him to maybe find that one just a little bit better, but I'm with you. Given the circumstances of it all, I'm more than fine giving him some allowances. I'd like to see him get another start at some point. I hope that's not a, all right, we saw what he is, and now we'll just kind of, whatever. I'd like to see him get another start.
I would too. I liked his demeanor post-game. It seemed upbeat and patient, and in going back to some of the breakdowns in front of him, he could have used some more support in that first period. Guys close to being in the right position, but not quite there, getting caught puck watching, and not making their net front a little harder to play in. Like Gensel shouldn't have been alone at that post after the sneaky Kucherov pass. Right. I want to see someone giving him some shoves there. And I just think that they were a little delayed on the back check getting there. Even Taves was chasing Kucherov around the net. So it's little things that I think too that the Avs buttoned up how they defended in front of him throughout the game. And so I think those two things help to support each other. And I look at Kakkonen's record in Minnesota specifically, and I think there's so much potential for this to be a decent goaltender. I want to see them try to bring that out and fully realize it here, now playing behind a Colorado Avalanche defense, which when healthy is really hard to contend with.
Right. And all right, I was gonna change topics a little bit here. I'm still gonna do that, but I want to go to the comment there about Kylington, and I want to get your take, Megan. Comment says Kylington should not play another game for the Avs. What happened to Bednar's doghouse? No more, please. Look, it's feel for Oliver Kylington. I think he's working hard. I think he wants to be playing better. And look, he was playing it forward. Talk about benefit of the doubt, but Megan, this is November 1st. We're going on 2 months here where none of us have seen what we wanted to see out of Oliver Kylington. And the other part of this too is they're down players. You don't really have the luxury of, we'll send this guy down. We can kind of play, the Avs are kind of trying to piece together the roster now. I just love your thoughts on Oliver Kylington, what we're seeing, and for your money, where do you draw the line on this experiment?
I think if I was in the Avs front office, I would assume that they've been fielding opportunities for a while now, because the back end is the healthiest part of this lineup. It's the most complete. So there really isn't even a role for him here, especially with the type of money that he's making. So even before we saw things just continue to get worse and worse for him, his role just didn't really make sense in Colorado after things were kind of settled coming out of preseason. You know, they move on from Brandstrom. Ludwig seems to be a nice seventh guy, and Dehan Malinsky seems to be a pretty sturdy third pair. There really isn't a role for Kylington that remains. And with the type of money that he makes, as I mentioned, he just doesn't make sense. He didn't then. Obviously, he doesn't make sense right now, but they're down so many bodies. They're just trying to extract some value. I think the line has been drawn, is what I'm saying. I think they're just trying to find a way to move on from him without it being for nothing. You know, they could send him down and continue to pay, because I don't know that it's a, you know, AHL.
I believe it's just one way.
Yep, so they'll be paying NHL money no matter what. I think they're trying to find a way to move on from this contract and extract any value that they can. You know, I don't know that there's a confidence he'd be claimed off waivers. This is a player, too, that was once touted as a second pair defenseman, or at least having that upside in Calgary, that has fallen off in terms of value. So I think right now, I think they were also maybe hoping he would have one good game to showcase some of the potential that is still there. And it just hasn't come around yet. But I don't think they're intentionally delaying for that. I think that it's just been hard to find an opportunity that makes sense to move on from him. And I don't doubt that is something that they're looking at, though, just because of how swiftly they moved on from Brandstrom, who I think is finding, you know, within the Vancouver organization, moving up and down quite a bit.
They got him to clear waivers, and they've
fully utilized it, but he's getting kind of, you know, that fringe opportunity. So I think that something similar exists for Kylington. It's just been even harder because things have gotten worse and worse the more that we've seen him. He's not moving his feet. This is a player touted for his speed.
Right.
And that's some of the issue with how he defended even as a forward that I have with him being utilized in the lineup at all. He's just not moving his feet because he looks frozen in confusion out there. I don't know if it's a matter of things just the way that Avs execute just not making sense to him, but he needs a fresh start. You know, this is merciful on behalf of the Avs to find a new home for him too. It stopped making sense a while ago.
You mentioned the skating, and, you know, Jared Bednar has called that out a couple times, and you could tell really trying to, like, be in Kylington's corner. He's a great skater. He's great puck skills. And he said, we're going to put him in a position tonight, you know, a couple nights ago playing forward. He said, well, we made sure that he was comfortable doing it, and we're going to put him in a position to put on display what he's really strong, the areas of his game that are really strong. I think lost is the right word, Megan. I think you're spot on. Looks lost, looks confused. You do wonder, is this the product of how much time he has missed over the last couple of years and trying to come into a system that is as detail oriented as this one, and as this one needs to be right now, given all the injuries that are down? We have another comment that came in. You know, do you think the Avs are struggling defensively because of players that are out with all the injuries? Yes, this is something you talked about earlier this week, Megan, that, like, there's context to a lot of what we're seeing here. And there's a lot of players who are suddenly being asked to play in spots or positions or roles that they haven't before, or that they weren't expecting to, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, the amount of players that the Avs are missing is definitely adding to this. And having a guy like Kylington, who, when he is in the lineup, is struggling as mightily as he is, it just magnifies everything.
It does. And I know we talked about this at length when we were looking at the 10-game segment, but the defensive forwards that are missing is a huge part of this too. And talking about defensemen chasing play, I think it's because they're not getting the support they ordinarily would from F1. And I think that it's just made things kind of a mess in their own end, and guys are trying to catch up to things because they're a step behind the play. And that's just not the way that the Avs defense is supposed to be executed. There's supposed to be more support. And I think that there is just a little bit too much confusion and also hesitancy to make mistakes from some of the newer players that is leading to what we're seeing breaking down in front of the net.
Yeah. All right. Well, so I wanted to round out our segment we have a clip from yesterday of Jared Bednar. You asked, I thought, a great question about how are you balancing this with 3 goalies? You got 3 goalies that need very different things right now. And so I wanted to round out the goalie conversation with that, but I saw the comment about Kylington, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about how that kind of was impacting everything in front of Capo Kakinen. But we'll move on from goalies after we hear from Jared Bednar here yesterday after practice on how he's handling this 3 goalie situation.
In having 3 goaltender options, what is your philosophy? Knowing Guerilla needs to rebuild confidence, Eustace needs to stay high, and needs more information on starts.
Yeah, I don't have one. I don't think there's like no right or wrong game plan here. My first priority is to put. Hey, there's no question. I played Kakinen because I want to see him. You know, we needed to see him. Like, we brought him in. We've sent him down. He's played games. You got to put him in a position where you can see him play. You know, moving forward, I don't know what the plan is. My plan is I'm going to play the goalie that I think gives us the best chance to win. And I guess those guys have to take care of what they have to do to put themselves in that position. I can't worry about guys' feelings, that they don't like 3 goalies. That's not my call, right? My call is to make sure that, number one, I'm playing a rested goalie that feels good and ready to go, and then I'm going to put the goalie that I think gives us the best chance to win in. This is pro hockey. It's not minor hockey where everyone gets to play. You know, I feel for them that there's 3 guys and they got to share the net and they got to go out early and get extra work or stay out late and get extra work. But that's a situation we're in, and we're in it because our goaltending wasn't good enough at the start of the year. If it comes around and we get 2 guys that can play, then we'll use him. If it's 1 guy that can play, then we'll use him more than the other guy, you know? And eventually it'll get down to 2. We don't have the luxury of carrying 3 for long.
Don't have the luxury of carrying 3 for long. Megan, with the salary cap situation they're in, with you hope players starting to come back as early as Tuesday, hopefully for Arturi Lehkonen, you're going to have to whittle this down to 2, so the Avs are going to have to continue to take looks here. Hard to imagine Georgiev not being one of the 2, but, I mean, this is consistent now from Jared Bednar. It feels like it's an open-ended competition.
It really does. And imagining it going down to 2, I wouldn't feel a comfort with the waiver wire with any of these goaltenders.
Right.
I know people are super down on Georgiev, and I understand why they are, but this is still a goaltender that a desperate team in need of a starter would probably take a swing on, especially given how his first year in Colorado went.
Right.
I don't know that I'd feel a comfort with any of these goaltenders just being reassigned to Loveland briefly. And so that makes the seriousness of the decision heightened by that much more. They really have to be sure then when they decide on their 2 that they feel good about who they are, which just means as much time as they can to evaluate who those 2 are. I think they're going to maximize it. So I don't think anyone should, like, I know a lot of people were quick to feel sorry for Eustace being the goaltender that wasn't backing up when Kakinen made his debut. I don't feel sorry for Eustace. I don't think he's sitting there taking that personally. If anything, you need a goaltender who's not going to react that way, you know, isn't going to take it personally and is just going to seize the next opportunity that comes to him. And I think that's how it's going to look moving forward for all 3 of these goaltenders. Somebody is going to be up in the press box on a given night, and they can't take it personally.
Right.
They just have to come hungrier the next opportunity that they get.
It's just the exact echo of what we talked about coming out of the gates with Justus Annunen when he came in relief twice and really struggled. You've got to take advantage of the minutes that you're given. And that's the situation every goaltender is in right now for the Avs. Whatever amount of minutes that you get, whether they be limited, whether they be a start, whether they be coming in relief, whatever, you have to make the most of them because the Avs are looking to make a decision and there are cap implications. The only reason that I am going to stop shy of saying that Alexander Georgiev is a slam dunk to stay on this roster that makes all of your money problems go away immediately. Moving on from Alexander Georgiev, all of your cap problems done, gone. That's the only reason I'm not willing to say Georgiev is the lock. It's between Annunen and Kakkonen. Truthfully, I probably still feel that way no matter what, unless Georgiev continues to clearly be the third best. But I think it is far from saying Georgiev is safe, no questions asked.
I'd agree with that. I think they're looking for separation now. We kind of talked about if all three of these goaltenders have pretty similar performances. Georgiev probably has a little bit of an edge.
I agree.
But I don't want that to be the case. I do want there to be a clear separation. I think that's the excitement of it being such an open-ended competition. And that's what I hope excites Kakkonen. Maybe not, to us in a media-facing setting, but I hope behind closed doors that Kakkonen is chomping at the bit for the opportunity that is just opened up in front of him, because it was not an opportunity that existed in Winnipeg. He was competing for a backup job at best.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a crack at a starting job. That's got to be exciting for all of these goaltenders.
Mm-hmm.
Well, less so for Georgiev, who's on the brink of losing a starting job.
Right.
That's where I think Georgiev also, if this is meant for him, that starter's net, then he has to be able to handle himself in the face of that pressure. Right. It can't feel good right now. Mm-hmm. He can't be in a really great place. But I want to see him fight through that mental challenge the way he had to in a smaller scale in the Winnipeg series. We saw him capable of that. Mm-hmm. That is at bare minimum what he needs to do right now.
Yeah.
And if he can't, then he's not the right fit.
Right. This is a team, despite how tough it has been out of the gates, this is a team with legitimate Stanley Cup aspirations. And the Avs aren't going to waste too much time here with the goalie if you're not fully confident. Let's move on here from goaltenders. I want to just talk about something, and really I'm going to tee you up a little bit on this because it's something that you were keying in on yesterday, both talking with Parker Kelly and then again with Jared Bednar on penalty kill. Real issue for the Avs in the first half dozen games. As is not perfect, but especially with the amount of bodies that they are missing right now, defensive-minded forwards, they're trending in the right direction. Yeah.
They are. And in our 10-game segment breakdown, that was maybe one of the areas I was most critical of. And then it looked so good in the Tampa game.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that Parker Kelly very politely told me that, it looks like it's not been doing really great. And there are analytics, though, that actually suggest it's not as bad as it's looked. Some of it has been bad luck. And so I'm excited to see these numbers start to turn around if that's the case. I don't know exactly what metrics. Jared Bednar mentioned some coverage on the rush, some kind of top 5 metric that they use to measure that being really good specific to the PK. I like that they have access. I wish I had those analytics too. Because, from my view, it's just been a lot of power play goals against.
Yeah.
Doesn't look so good. I've liked aspects of it. I've liked Logan O'Connor on it, which is unsurprising. But in being a leader on the kill, I think that's been important for him to sort of lead the charge on that. And I've liked what Parker Kelly has added to it. I think that Kiviranta has grown more comfortable there. He was on the PK last year, but he was a player that I felt showed hesitancy, kind of similar to the way Sam Malinsky defended the other night, like that, being split between two decisions and making the one that ultimately either opens up a passing or shooting lane. Kind of similarly, that's what I felt Kiviranta struggled with on the PK last year, but he looks like he is a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more familiar there. And then just guys stepping up, like the Steinbergs and the Wagners of the world, also getting some more reps there, like because Steinberg has been on the PK with the Eagles and it's executed very similarly. I think there was some familiarity there. It was just a matter of him feeling a confidence with that responsibility. Mm-hmm. And then on the back end, this has been just a challenge because players like Taves and Makar are already absorbing such big minutes that I think that's where maybe they struggled a little bit on the PK in trying to do too much and feeling those absences, feeling like they needed to be kind of the strongest piece of defense. But I think that they have balanced it more, giving some of that responsibility to Manson and Gerard, who have continued to be pretty good on the kill. And I think once they start to get some healthier bodies back into the mix, it just gets better from here. With Alakinen returning soon. I feel that's what's been missing, and I also think this is just a trend for the team. At the start of the year, the penalty kill always struggles. I think in some sense it's new guys being added to it, but even the guys that are returning, it's just a matter of getting everybody on the same page, and I think that's what we saw in the first 10 games is a PK that needed to get on the same page.
Well, and again, I want to make sure that we are circling back to the context of, I think all of their normal penalty killing forwards are currently out of the lineup. I mean, maybe Parker Kelly kills penalties when everyone's back, but for the most part, you're talking about Lehkonen, Nichushkin, Colton, Wood. Dren didn't play any PK time, or at least limited if he did. So, you
Wood, yeah, he's huge. Colton started getting those looks.
Mhm.
And then obviously Nichushkin and Lehkonen, two
Right.
of the best.
Right. And I guess Logan O'Connor, he's your PK staple, but to your point, Megan, like they struggle out of the gates a lot on the penalty kill. Seems like there's maybe a little bit of extra systems work that goes into that takes them a while to settle into. But you stack that on top of the fact that, yeah, you're missing a lot of the guys who would normally be there. I think it's good to see them working in the right direction. Like you said, there's some analytic numbers that support that as well.
Yeah. And goaltending. I think Jared Bednar was quick to volunteer that aspect of it too. Like, there have also just been some goals against that you needed a save. One more additional save. Because you don't totally hang the goaltender out to dry when you're shorthanded, but they needed some more saves than they've gotten.
This is, and I don't want to take us back to goaltending because I know we just got done talking about that, but like this is the most critical I've ever heard Jared Bednar be of his goaltenders.
I thought it was super interesting in talking about the goaltending options. Like, I can't worry too much about guys' feelings. We're only in this position because we didn't get good goaltending. Kind of like there is an element of accountability on the goaltending side that they need to take. That there's only 3 goaltenders right now because they didn't get the goaltending they needed. So nobody can, throw a fit, throw an attitude over this. It's the room that we're in because of how they played at the start of the year.
Right. I imagine we see Eustace soon. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he gets to start tomorrow.
I agree.
Tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The 2 days off really threw me. I was already in such a every other day routine that the 2 days off, I was like, wait a minute.
No, it did feel like there should be a game today.
Right. So, again, I just thought that was interesting. We don't have to go back to goaltenders. PK trending in the right direction. I loved your line of questioning on from a couple different guys yesterday. I just wanted to make sure we talked about that. All right, we got to talk about him, Megan. Matt Steinberg.
It's okay.
Matt Steinberg, he misbehaving. Misbehaving. It's just a still, but this hit right here. Megan, you can't do that. No. Can't do that. Clearly off his feet. The leaving his feet was not from contact. And if we were playing the full video here, you would see it's clear contact to the head. Jared Bednar talked about it. I like the fact that Steinberg is playing aggressive, trying to finish a hit. You can't do this.
I think Bednar handled his response to this perfectly. He was quick to say that this was not okay, that you can't do this. There's no two ways about it. But he was also quick to not completely demolish the confidence of a young player who's getting in his first ever NHL games and learning to toe that line. It's not an excuse, for that play, but I liked Bednar's response that you'd rather dial a player back, which is needed here. You can't do that. And I think that there's going to be a lot of conversations around how to not do that and show more discipline without taking away from the physical aspect of his game that has brought him success.
And you know what, Megan? I actually think we've still got it loaded up. I think we've got Bedsy talking about Steinberg from after the game a couple nights ago. So let me cue this up I'm like 95% sure that's what we've got queued in here. So I apologize if this isn't him, but I'm pretty sure.
I love it if we have it. I thought it was the perfect response.
This is Bednar on Steinberg.
Leaves his feet, so you leave your feet. It's definitely a penalty. I don't know what constitutes the 5 on it unless he does catch him in the head. Then it's if you're leaving your feet and you catch him in the head, which is likely what happened. I couldn't see because the video screen I got, it was Steiny leaving his feet and making contact. So, yeah. But the thing I like about Steiny, I'd rather him not leave his feet there and finish that check, but he played hard. He finished checks. He went into people. He was involved again, just like he's been the whole time he's been here, and he's been a responsible defensive guy. So I'd rather have to dial him back a little bit on a play like that every once in a while than have to crank him.
Sorry, that was maybe a little bit louder than our other videos, but there you go. I'd rather have to dial him back, I'd rather have to pull him back than dial him up. I love the intention behind what Steinberg's trying to do there, but again, he got a little bit out of control. You can't do that.
No, and you can see in the way that he plays that, well, one, this isn't new to him. This is kind of how he's always played, particularly in college and at the American League level as well. And you can see how it frustrates other players. He's been involved in skirmishes now a few times in his young NHL career because of the way that he plays. It's irritating to other players. I love that about him. It's going to mean, though, sometimes that pendulum swings a little bit too much one way, and he does need to work on towing that line. I think he's done it well at the American League level, but this is a new level of hockey. The pace is different. And so even the timing of completing his checks is going to be a little bit different. And I think that's going to be a learning curve. But he's obviously eager to learn. I think there is a hunger to stay in the NHL, and I think he realizes that this opportunity has come about because of unfortunate circumstance for the Avs, but, he's not going to rest on his laurels either. So I think that was the perfect response from Bednar, and I love that side of his game, but I don't love to see players get hurt, including Chernak, who doesn't seem to be healthy after that. We're still waiting to learn kind of the depths of it, but you hate to see that.
Your thoughts on 2 games? I was expecting 1 for a first-time offender. I do think they're maybe weighing Chernak's status a little bit in that. Your thoughts on 2 games?
I can't have a consistency, conversation about the Department of Player Safety. If other things have been measured similarly, I think it's perfectly appropriate. It feels a little heavy-handed for a first-time offender. I don't mind the team wanting to set a precedent if only it was upheld consistently. That's my only issue. It's like, yes, I want to eliminate hits like this from the game. And so if a 2-game suspension is the kind of deterrent that's going to prevent other players from doing it, hell yeah. Issue is, I just don't think it's applied consistently enough.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I really did. I when I saw it, I said, that's a game. That's a game easily. 2 games, I definitely had the same thought of like, all right, well, if you're going to hand this out to everyone, cool. Because I'm with you. Again, as much as we were saying, I love Matt Steinberg's intensity. That is the exact type of hit they are trying to get out of the game.
100%.
And I agree with that. So cool. Give him 2 games. When Trouba does this next week, give him 2 games.
But also repeat offender.
Right.
So that's where I'd get frustrated is like, okay, how much are we measuring a player's history and frequency of which this has happened in their career? Because 2 off the gate for a first-time offender, all right, it's a little heavy-handed. Then you need to really throw the book at anyone else who does this and has done it before.
Before we move on, and the refs, I think, got it right, ultimately. Chris Wagner boarded Ryan McDonough. It was a penalty.
Oh, absolutely. Maybe more egregious.
It was a penalty. The refs didn't call it. And John Cooper argued his way into a review. They didn't even know what number they were talking about. They got on the mic and said, we have another major penalty to review. And just got the iPad out. I didn't like the hit from Wagner. I also didn't think it was malicious. I thought he was finishing a check. McDonough had his numbers facing him. It should have at least been a 2-minute boarding penalty. I absolutely hated that they were ready to drop the puck and John Cooper literally called them over and convinced them to go review it and potentially give them an additional 5-minute penalty. I did not like anything about the way that went down.
It just felt like, I remember seeing some of the discourse too, like it might not have even been allowed if it did stand. I'm not sure.
Well, so what I was seeing and talking to people about was what they wouldn't have been allowed to do was come back and say it's a 2-minute penalty on Chris Wagner for boarding. That in that instance, they would have had to either say it's a 5-minute major and this player's ejected, or it's nothing. And they went with nothing because, to me, they probably looked at that and said, yeah, that's a 2-minute boarding penalty. We should have called it. So they just went with nothing because they couldn't have done that. But
I need to know, in Cooper's initial pitch to get them to review it, how he was able to demonstrate this could be more than a 2-minute minor.
Well, and that's my thing. Like, as I was watching the screen, because, they're cutting back and forth between the refs and John Cooper. And I think when they were reviewing the play, I think John Cooper thought that they were reviewing the hit on McDonough.
Interesting.
Because I read his lips and he said 14.
Oh, for Wags.
Right. And so when they came out and said, yeah, it's a penalty on 36, that was when on the broadcast, John Cooper started being like, no, it's the wrong guy. It was 14 in the corner. And he said way worse. He was telling them that the hit Wagner put on McDonough was worse than what Steinberg had done to Chernak. But again, the part that I did not like about it was that they did not make a call. The refs didn't see that. The Avs got a big lesson a couple weeks ago in, if the refs don't see it, tough cookies. The refs didn't see it. There was no call on the play. There was no acknowledgement of that play. There was a penalty called and a review had for something that happened well after that. They're ready to drop the puck. And John Cooper just convinced them to go look at the replay. To me, I think the rule technically would have allowed for a 5-minute major penalty to stand there. But my issue with it was there was no call on the ice. That would have been a penalty called purely based on a review. And if that's what we're doing, what are we even talking about here?
It creates a slippery slope.
Right.
Another funky precedent, like at any point in the middle of the game. This could just become so disruptive.
Right.
If every missed call, they make a case for it to be reviewed for a major penalty, no matter if it's pretty blatantly just a minor, it still wastes time.
Right.
Resources.
Right. So what? If someone gets high sticked and they start bleeding and the refs didn't see it, can the play go on for 3 minutes? Then you call them over to your bench and have them review for a double minor?
Retroactively, that's...
Right. Because that's what happened. Because, and I mean, I guess maybe the Avs never touched the puck anyways from the time McDonough. But like, okay, well, if you're going to go back and retroactively make that call, like, I don't know. Does the other one even happen if the arm goes up? I don't know. If Vasilevsky starts skating to the bench, does Steinberg pinch right there on Eric Chernak? Like, it's just like, you can't relitigate stuff that there was no call on. And maybe that was what the refs reviewed. Maybe they reviewed, oh, wait, did a ref or a linesman put their arm up on this? And if that's what they were reviewing, okay. Was a call made on this, then we got distracted with everything else that happened. If that's what you're doing, fine. But to me, that should have been sorry, John, there was no call made. We'll look at it after. And yeah, again, officials should have to do availability after games. I will die on this hill. The lead official should be at least made available after game. And you can make it inconvenient if you want. Make it at the exact same time the coaches are speaking so it deters media from doing it. But in an instance like that, I guarantee there would have been a Tampa Bay media person or two that would have said, yeah, I'd like to chat with the official tonight just to see what they saw or didn't see. It's just another example of there needs to be some accountability for these officials, because had they come out of that with an additional 5-minute power play, and you suddenly would have been staring at a 3-minute 5-on-3 that they can just keep scoring on, that would have been ridiculous. That would have been ridiculous.
Yeah, I do think there needs to be some kind of paper trail of the protocol here to either reinforce it or prevent it from happening again.
Yes, I completely agree. We can move on. We don't have to dwell on that for too long. I just wanted to touch briefly on that because I just couldn't believe what we were watching play out in front of us. Abs heading into Nashville. They're going to be down at Steinberg. They have already reassigned him. They have recalled TJ Tynan, who did play against Tampa Bay. And then Pishchipov, also on the recall, will be joining the Avs. This goes back to what I was talking about with our 10-game segment the other day. Another NHL debut for the Avs, likely tomorrow in Nashville.
It doesn't feel good because it's prompted by absolutely unlikely circumstances. That is not to take a dig at Pishchipov, but he was a 7th round pick in this most recent draft. Love him, but that's insane. His track to the NHL is supposed to look different for a reason, for the benefit of his development.
Right.
He's been doing good things with the Eagles. This is not to say he has not done anything to deserve it. It is just a testament to how bad things are for the Avs right now to be pulling this deep into their depth chart. And I'm excited for him, but I'm still worried about the overall look of the lineup. It's just asking a lot. You know, at least Tynan has the NHL experience. Don't hate that as the call-up option there. It's just a lot of young blood, and the young blood they have has handled themselves really well in Kovalenko and Ivan, but they're a little older for their age. I guess Pishchipov is similar in that way, a little older just in terms of his development track, and has played in a men's league, so I feel more comfort with him than like Kyle Ritchie, for example. I think that this could translate a little bit better. But there were a lot of parts of his game that were raw in like development camp, rookie face-off through now. But he's been doing good things with the American League as well. So
a goal and 4 points in 6 games.
And he's heated up in the last 3 specifically. So I think that he's played with different opportunity and role with the Eagles too, both down the middle and on wing, which is in
how long do you think until another 7th round pick from the Sphere draft plays an NHL game?
I know Brendan and Corey were like trying to kind of trace too, like how often does this happen where the player like drafted that late plays in that immediate NHL season? It is a little bit crazy. But you know, Pishchipov, to his credit, playing in the top 9 because he's kind of moved around their lineup and he's moved around middle and wing. So
this is insanity, Megan.
Do you have the stat?
I don't.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that would be really hard to find.
Not that stat. He was taken 217th overall 5 months ago.
Yeah.
You know how many overall players were taken in that draft?
3 something?
225.
2.
So Pishchipov was the 8th from the last pick in the draft, and he is making his NHL debut likely tomorrow.
It is a little bit crazy. I don't mean to be, dismissive of him, but the parts of his games that were a little bit raw, you felt, wow, he's going to really benefit from a full season in the American League. And I like how strong he is. So I think that's going to hold up well in an NHL game. I don't know. I feel like we need to shift conversation because this is hard. I don't want to sound critical of Pishchipov.
I mean, there are on this website right here. This can't be right. Oh, well, wait, this might be right just because. But there's only, according to this website, there are fewer than 30 players that have been drafted in the 7th round and then played NHL games. And like I said, I don't see like Datsuk, Pavelski, Zetterberg on here, but they may have actually even been later round picks than that. It doesn't matter. Point being, I don't remember the last time a player was drafted in the 7th round and then played that following NHL season.
Yeah, it's a testament to the bad way that the Avs are in. Just going into this game, Lekkonen's expected back very soon, and Duran's probably not far behind him. I just would have liked to see this moment come from different circumstance for Pishchipov, because this is a player that I think would have made an NHL debut at some point. Just imagined a little bit more development happening. And I also, just in seeing his track record, he played in the Q. He did not play in the men's league.
No, he played 3 straight years in the Q.
So apologies. He is strong, though. That is absolutely true. Wow, that just makes this even more challenging for him.
Well, and I'm trying to... He might be the first player that's ever doing this. Being drafted in the 7th round and then playing in the NHL immediately that next season. Just based on some very, very quick searches. Zetterberg was a 7th round pick in 1999, played in 2002. Patrick Hornqvist was 7th round in 2005, made his NHL debut in 2008. I know someone I can text would probably know this. He may be the first player that's been drafted in the 7th round, then played immediately in the following draft or following season. Excuse me. Expectations for tomorrow, Megan?
I'm expecting a good goaltending performance. I think that's going to be a must. I'm expecting some cohesion among the top guys because I think they're going to absorb more minutes. I think that whatever iteration of 3rd and 4th line we see is going to be a bit sheltered, in particular with a player like Pishchipov. You don't want this to be detrimental to his development and having it be just way too much for him to handle, but you still want to test him and see what he's capable of too. So I think you have to factor that in, which just puts a little added pressure then on the top. I was going to say top 6, but that's still young talent in the Kovalenko and Ivan blend that's probably in there. I know Kiviranta's been sort of teased in the top line role too, so maybe Kovalenko goes on a 3rd line to try and balance it more.
I'm expecting a lot of blending.
I'm expecting a lot of blending, and so I'm still looking to that cluster of players really stepping up despite being, pretty young and inexperienced themselves. And that's where the experienced guys, the McKinnons, Rantanen. I think we need a big Rantanen game. It just feels like we haven't seen one in a while. So
he's been humming along, but
in the Mika way, that's a little bit quiet and understated, and I think that he can have a much louder impact than we've seen a little bit so far.
Yep.
Kind of similarly for Kale. I think Kale would probably even feel that way, though the production has absolutely been there and consistently. I think he just wants to have, 1, a solid night defensively, and 2, if he can contribute offensively in any way. I think he wants to continue injecting some offense back into the group. The other thing, too, I want to maybe think about, oh man, I lost my train of thought. It was right before Makar, right before Rantanen. I lost my train of thought completely.
I'm trying to dig through my brain.
I was going to talk about Nashville.
And
the struggles that they've had.
Yep.
We probably talked about it a little bit, how on paper this is a team that looks like they could be really dangerous, but how do these pieces fit together for Nashville? And I think that the Avs should try to capitalize on some of that lack of cohesion that has existed out the gate for Nashville. Because by now it's going to start coming together for them the same way things are coming together for the Avs. So they shouldn't take it lightly. But I think they should leverage some of the struggles for Nashville early out the gate and try to take advantage of it early.
100%. We had someone in the chat saying Andre Palat. You are correct. He was drafted in 2011, played that entire season with the Norfolk Admirals in the AHL before making his NHL debut the following season. Pishchipov was drafted 4 months ago. So he was on track to do the full AHL season thing. But we may see him in the NHL tomorrow. So again, I've got someone that I can ask who I think would probably know.
You know what I do feel that Pishchipov would be better as a forward than Kylington.
Yes.
I don't mean that in a nasty way
No,
either.
no.
Just he's
A forward.
a forward.
Yeah.
And he's been getting in games consistently with the Eagles, who try to emulate the way that the Avs play.
Mm-hmm.
And he's handled himself well with opportunity on special teams, opportunity in the top 9 that's fluctuated. So I do think that's why this makes sense more than Kylington.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Anything else on tomorrow? I guess I should say, Megan, we're not going to the game tomorrow. We won't be in Nashville. Originally last year when we got started with everything at Guerilla Sports, we had this whole plan set for the season. We had all of our games circled that we were going to be traveling to. And then we had all these other, mostly one-off road games. We'll still be, going on all the trips and all that stuff, the longer trips. But we had this whole plan of using our great studio here and our desk. And we're going to do intermission reports and post-game shows. And then we just got halfway through the season. We had been at every game, and Blake, our boss, was like, well, we just got to do the rest of the season now. And I was like, huh? I was like, I thought we were going to do all these. He's like, nah, we're just going to do it. So I finally twisted Blake's arm, got him to let us skip a road game. And we are going to be doing intermission, live intermission shows and a live post game. Not going to be a super long post game show because we'll be checking in throughout the game. We kind of pulled this one together here a little bit late. So we won't be in studio. We'll be in our remote setups. But then after that, for any one-off games that we're not at, we will be here in studio, bringing you guys all kinds of great content throughout the Avs game. So we're just a year late in enacting our plan for when we're not at games. But this will be the first road game that we are not at.
Yeah.
So I just want to let folks know that you'll be able to find us in a different home tomorrow for Avs Preds.
Yeah,
but
it will be on YouTube, so we'll tweet out links.
Yep, we'll be on YouTube, on X, all of that good stuff. So again, like I said, we're just going to do things a little bit different for a couple of these one-off road games they've got coming up here, where we'll have in-game and post-game content coming for you guys. Megan, I love talking hockey with you during games, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think that's always easier for me to do analysis because it's just
fresh,
raw observation. And I think the concern around road game coverage, it's one-off games.
Yes.
We'll still be on the road.
Yes. Absolutely.
Significantly. So don't worry.
Yeah, we're still we'll be at plenty of them. We just, like I said, this was something that we had planned since last year, particularly for these one-offs. Where, the team flies out and flies back sometimes same day, things like that. It can just be a little bit of a logistical struggle for us to make sure that we're in all the places we need to be. But we will be on the road plenty here in the coming weeks. We really just originally we're looking at rolling this out for the Winnipeg game that's coming up here in a couple weeks. But like I said, we moved a couple things around, and this just kind of made a little bit more sense for us to go ahead and get it rolled out starting tomorrow. So that's where you can find us tomorrow. But like I said, we'll be right back in the room, at home, on the road, especially. We're not going to leave you guys high and dry when the Avs are on the road for long stretches. We will be there making sure that we're bringing you guys everything from the road. So fret not. This is just for our smaller one-offs here. Logistically, it just makes things a little bit easier on us for these ones where the team is going out and coming right back. If the Avs were practicing in Nashville today, that would have changed things for us. We would have wanted to make sure we were there for that, but we were able to chat with the guys this morning. And to answer this question, no, nobody from the beat will be in Nashville or Winnipeg, I believe, from asking around folks yesterday. But that's all right. We will have all kinds of great coverage for you guys, and we're working on a couple things to see what we can get for you guys post game. Anyways, but not a watch along, but as soon as every period ends, you guys will be able to come right here to Guerilla Sports. We'll have a nice intermission report for you, and then we will also wrap the game up for you guys after the game. Like I said, normally you'll find us here in the studio. We kind of decided to do this one. We decided that we weren't going to go to Nashville kind of late, so we already had the studio committed for a couple things. So Megan and I will be in our own separate homes tomorrow, and then after that, you'll find us here in the studio. And I'm actually excited, Megan. I think we're going to come up with some cool stuff for the studio.
I'm so excited. It's an interactive way to hang out with people during games
Yeah.
too. Like we don't ordinarily get to when we're here at home.
Yep.
We're in game, a little bit busy, and then on the road, we're in locker rooms. So this
Very
is a
busy,
fun
yes.
way to reconnect with you guys a little bit.
Yes.
From time to time.
So yeah, like I said, we wanted to try some new stuff, and we figured this is a good time to do it. All right. Just real quickly, Megan, I want to wrap quickly on Val Nichushkin. We got some updates on him, and I believe we do have that video queued up as well. We'll start off here with Jared talking about Val. We'll get a couple of quick thoughts, and then we'll jump out for the day.
We're coming up on 6 months, I guess. Two-parter on Val. Number one, has he still been skating over these last couple of weeks since he first arrived?
Yeah.
Week and a half. And number two, do you have clarity on, like, is November 13 the day that he's eligible? Is he on track for that? Is that his, like, clear to practice day or clear to play? Like, do you have any clarity on all that?
Yeah, I don't have specifics. He has been skating though the whole time. He skated again this morning. Not allowed to be around like our guys yet, and we're hoping that date's coming quick. So I don't know exactly what the date's going to be just yet, but we're hoping it's like early this month. So that would put him ready. Like if he can join our team and start practicing early this month, which sounds like that's a very good possibility. Then like we're in our heads, we're like waiting for the 15th or 13th or whatever date they give us, somewhere in that range that he can play. And from talking with Val, he feels like there's no problem. He'll be ready as soon as they clear him, you know. So he's going to have a little bit of time with our team to practice before he's cleared to play, which that can't hurt him either, you know. Hopefully we get him back sooner than later.
Sounds like they're going to try to get him. I mean, and look, given where they're at roster-wise, it makes sense. But it sounds like the minute the Avs get the green light, the goal is to get Val Nichushkin back in the lineup.
Yeah. It's nice to have a little clarity that there won't be weeks ramping back in the return to play after he's cleared. So I think that's very welcome news for this team. And for his embrace, too. Like, how he'll be received by this team and sort of the making amends that will need to happen will probably be more easily received because they just really need him.
If he can show up and play like Val, I think they're going to get over it pretty quick. That's just my kind of gut feeling on it. If it's the Val that we all know Val can be, they'll be like, all right, don't screw us again, but let's go do this. Like, you know, so I thought that was the most meaningful update we've gotten on Val so far. And I just wanted to make sure we got that out there to the folks.
Definitely.
Megan, when will your podcast premiere? I believe you were approving some art today.
Yes. We've been sitting on some content and we've just needed to work on the logo branding, actually, is what the delay was. And some of that came down to like me needing to establish what I wanted it to look like. So that should, once that comes out too, that should be rolling more regulally after.
Yeah.
So,
but like Megan said, we've actually already got some content ready for her new show. We're just making sure all of our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed, but that will be coming your way very, very soon. I know I'm looking forward to it, Megan.
Yeah, thank you.
Pucks and Prosecco. Or maybe bubbles in something. If you don't take pucks and Prosecco, I'm taking bubbles in something.
Bubbles and something. That's adorable.
I love it. Any last thoughts? Val Nichushkin, injuries, Steinberg, Nashville this weekend. Anything else?
I've heard people ask about Druin a little bit. And the update we've gotten is a day-to-day kind of status, which I know we probably already have some PTSD because that's what we were told weeks ago about Jonathan Druin. It was like it became, we thought it was day-to-day. It's actually week-to-week, but now it's day-to-day.
Right.
So I know that seems familiar and maybe is triggering to people, but I do think it's actually day-to-day now. And I think he's close to return, still skating in a red no contact jersey, but it feels like it is within arm's reach versus before when it was several weeks out.
Yeah. We do have a quick comment here. Where is JJ? JJ's got some life and some family stuff and some real estate stuff that he's dealing with. So we'll actually probably be without JJ for a little bit here as he just deals with stuff. Life, life happens. And, but we're all, JJ's all good. He's fine. Like everything's all good. His life has just gotten very, very busy. He's got a kid, a wife, baby. Yeah. Baby, in a demanding real estate job. So we'll be without JJ for a little bit, but he will be popping in and out, and we will have him back at some point. The empty chair is ominous.
Even our depth chart took a hit.
Yeah. Yeah, our depth chart is down. We're covering the Avs. It's what can you do? What can you do? The hits just keep coming. But no, JJ will, like I said, he'll be popping in and out occasionally here over the next little bit. But you're stuck with me, and thank God Megan is here, because I don't think anybody wants to listen to just me. We keep trying to get Chloe out here, and she just hates us. So
no,
she'll have. She did not send me that she would go.
All right, Chloe debut coming soon.
Yeah, Chloe debut coming next week. I'm gonna mandate it. She's got to come on. And maybe she has to wear the gorilla suit like she made me do yesterday.
That's cruel. We can't do that. I'll veto that. Unless she wants to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, unless she wants to, then who am I to say no? That's Chloe back there behind the glass. Making sure you guys can see us in here. Let's give a big shout out to John too. We don't ever give John enough love for making sure all this stuff is on and working.
Lights look good. Cameras look good.
Yeah, screens look good.
You can hear us.
Shout out to John. That's Meghan Angley. I'm Jesse Montano. We'll be back talking to you guys tomorrow. Intermission and post-game shows coming in Avs at Nashville. Should be fun. It'll be something a little bit different for us. And if you guys hate us that much, we'll just go back to covering games on the road, and we'll just stop trying to be fun. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be fun talking tomorrow, Megan.
Well, I hope so.
Yes, yeah,
It'll be fun talking no matter what.
It's gonna be interesting talking tomorrow. How about that?
Yeah, they have their work cut out for them, but I'm excited.
Yeah, for Chloe, Megan, I'm Jesse. Thanks so much, guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow.